Hi, WFMers out there. I'm your host, Irina Mateva, and this is WFM Unfiltered, a podcast by Right WFM, the place where we share the truth about workforce management. So get comfortable and listen closely. Hello, everyone, and happy Tuesday. I'm your host, Irina, and this is WFM Unfiltered. And today we are traveling all the way to South Carolina before I say the wrong thing once again. And the guest I have is amazing. And I am a huge fan of him. He is an incredible professional and even more amazing human being. So I cannot wait for you to meet him once again because I know that he's very famous and there's no way that you haven't heard of him. But I'm going to hand over to you, Dan. How are you today? And thank you for joining me.
I'm good. It's still time zone difference, right? Thanks for traveling all the way to South Carolina. Still a little early, so I'll be drinking my coffee this morning out of my Harry Potter Ravenclaw mug. But I'm doing
Nice.
well, thank you. A little background about me. So I've been in the contact center space for 20 years. I started on the phones taking tech support calls for a dial-up internet company. Stumbled into WFM as many of us do, and I've been here in WFM for about 18 years now, about 17, 18 years. A variety of different roles, variety of different environments, BPO, startup, currently now with a large health system. I'm based out of New York area in the States. And I also do a side consulting business. So 23 Consulting is the number 2, the word 3consulting.com. I try to help organizations think critically about WFM, and you can always catch me on LinkedIn. I put Will Ferrell gifts up every Friday and try to just make humor around WFM. So it's not just boring RTA and WFM forecasting tips. I try to be funny at times, but that's me. So happy to be here and have a conversation with you.
Thank you so much for this introduction. And just to add, absolutely follow Dan, follow his company, find him on LinkedIn. You'll find the 2-3 Consulting there and the link as well, and follow his content because you will learn a lot. You'll also laugh a lot. So all good stuff there. So make your way to his LinkedIn. And on that note, Dan, we've been brainstorming about the topic that I know you're super passionate about, and it's one that usually triggers a lot of discussions, and it is the balance and how do we deal with meeting customer demand all while we are actually meeting agents' wishes and preferences for their
Yeah.
scheduling. So I think it's easier said than done. But what are your thoughts on this concept?
Yeah, I think for me, the kind of general starting point is it's an afterthought for a lot of workforce management teams. I think the principles, the practice, the foundations of workforce management, going back to Erlang, is about trying to predict call volume, predict customer demand. And then if we can predict it, we can align resources. And that basic fundamental concept, aligning resources to forecasted demands, is what WFM has always been doing. And over time, I think that's where a lot of WFM teams stopped. They haven't really gone past meeting business demands. So I love having this conversation just as it's a bit of a challenge sometimes for WFM teams. What if meeting customer demand was only a part of the puzzle? And what if the other piece was about meeting agent demand? I think that word alone makes people a little bit concerned and nervous, right? Like they're not allowed to demand anything. It's a job. They can have wants, but agents, team members can't have demands. And so it's a fun conversation. That's typically where I try to encourage people to at least consider there might be more to the equation than simply the customer demand. What are you hearing on your side? Do you hear a similar need for this conversation? Or are you guys on that side of the ocean already figured this all out? You guys know how to give agents everything they want?
It's a very cool one, and the one that it's absolutely mandatory, at least from my experience. And actually, it's a great segue to a previous episode that I had with a guest of mine about empathy towards agents and whether this is the job of WFM or team lead. So, hi, Dimitri. I hope you're listening to this episode. We're going to be talking about you. And choosing their own schedules for me, it's a part of showing empathy towards their life and personal wishes and how they're spending their time. Now, usually when most of the organizations are coming from the position, hello, you sign a contract, you are being paid, you can't just show up whenever you
Right.
want. And I can understand that point of view because it is a business after all. We need to ensure that we have a business so you can get paid, so you can go do your daily activities. On the other hand, I think both you and I would agree that contact center job is a tough one. It's the one that we're usually rotating people all the freaking time and we're dealing with a lot of attrition. So we do need to provide them some sort of flexibility. Otherwise, we're not going to have people to work with. A great chat for the people that are promoting AI, by the way, and how it will replace fake chats. So that's their chance. But I think that customer demand can be achieved so much easier if we start reacting to our
Yeah.
agents as
Yeah.
human beings, understand them as customers as well. They're people. The more we meet their demands, the more flexible they're going to be with us in our business, the more they're going to align with the goals of the company. So I do think there's sometimes a position where you need to draw the line. You can't just accept absolutely every single wish and demand, but why not look for a solution for them?
Right.
And that was actually the conversation that I had with Dimitri a while back. Oh, it's not our job to look for a solution for them. It's team lead's job. No, it's work management. We are dealing with that part of the puzzle. Why it's not us
Right.
looking for a solution? So I'm hear how you feel about this
Yeah.
position.
So is it our job to hear from them? If it's not our job, then we know our schedules are going to be even that much more fluid. But I think workforce management teams are tired of the amount of adjustments that we have to make to a schedule,
Yeah.
right? And so let's say, for just an example, we do allow team leads, the operations team, to go and try to figure out how to balance the needs of the employees. And maybe they're closer to the employee. It makes sense. Okay, maybe. But then they're going to have to relay that information to us, which means anything that we've already put into the schedule is going to have to be changed. Or let's say maybe for a second, we haven't made the schedule yet. That means that the operations team is just a pass through. It's just a middle person, right? Which sounds like an unnecessary step and seems inefficient. The whole point of WFM is that we're as efficient as possible. Like, why are we creating inefficiencies in this process? Let's make it as close to the agent as possible. Going back to your last comment around providing more flexibility, providing a place for agents to feel like we're listening to them, you went to give them the schedule that they want. And then you also went to letting them come into work whenever they want. And I know those are just shorthands of these are general concepts. But I want to encourage people to also realize you don't have to go there. Some people do, right? Some people, I think, create such great flexibility that it's wonderful. But for those that have a little bit of heartache or heartburn or hesitation to be able to even go down this path, we're not asking you to just throw your schedules out the window and allow the agents to do whatever they do. We're asking you to have a conversation, right? For me, balancing customer demands and agent demands simply starts with asking the agents what they would like, not giving them everything, but simply asking the question, what would make your environment a little bit better? If you could create a schedule, what would that look like? If you could change 30 minutes on your schedule, how would you like that to be changed? I think for me, it's those steps. What step could we take towards providing agents more of what they're looking for while still meeting the customer demand? That for me is the most important conversation. It's not even, here's the menu of options that you can choose from, and though there's only one right one. It's about encouraging WFM teams to think about what is that next step I can take towards empowering agents and giving them more options while still meeting the customer demand.
It's a brilliant point, and I think this is where the process gets a little bit broken,
Right.
and maybe it broke in the execution step, because I have seen it with myself and with my own teams that at some point you're also asking agents what would make you feel
Sure.
better in your daily work. Can I accommodate your needs so you are more productive, more efficient, happier at work? And we're making that change and we're making that tweak and we're anticipating that people would be maybe grateful. They will be
Right.
happier with our extra
Yep.
effort, and it actually bites us in the end. Yet, I self-censor it like so because even more demands, and now it's no longer us giving something additional. Now it becomes like
Earth.
a mandatory request that you as a WFM team is supposed to meet. And then by the time that you acknowledge what you have done, you have absolutely released a beast, basically, because the agents can now request everything, and they're even more miserable if you decline their request. What do we do? How do we execute this in the right
Yeah,
way?
no, I think that's God, that hits way too close to home. That frustration. I personally have felt this frustration of what who do you think you are? That's how I almost want to approach it, right? Like, I have given you so much. And the fact that I want to take away this small thing to make a course correction and everyone's freaking out, or the fact that I've given you this and now you're asking for this. Oh my God. You hit a nerve. You definitely hit a nerve with that one. It's so frustrating. What do we do? What lessons I've learned around this is when introducing new possibilities, new options, you strongly message them as a pilot, as a test, right? We are going to introduce this. And so the simple question around what would improve your environment if you could change your schedule? You put a big old bold statement right after that says, that's not to say we're going to give you your adjustment. We're just information gathering, right? If you go out there and say, we're looking to provide some more flexibility by providing these schedules, you say, we are going to review this after X months to see if it's working, and it may go away after so many months. Like, you just keep messaging the temp, if that's a word, the of the options to make sure that everyone understands this can go away at any given point. This is not a foregone conclusion of what we're going to do. So it's one of the few things, and maybe you just keep rotating different pilots. You keep rotating different options. That way, no one gets used to or stuck on, no, you gave me this 3 years ago, and I've always had this now, right? And then don't ever want to give it up. If you just keep moving through different options, you keep maybe the really good ones, but you just keep rotating through different things. That way, maybe they can't get used to it and demand more. But I do think it's human nature. I think I probably do it where I'm like, oh, this cool thing you gave me that one time. Now I want it all of the time. But something as simple as a restaurant, right? You go, we have Chipotle's over here. There's a particular type of protein that's new for the season. I'm like, but this is delicious. I want this now all of the time. Why is it limited time only and going away? I can't fault them, but man, is it hard when what you feel like is a step towards helping someone suddenly becomes an expectation, and now they demand it all the time. I'm curious. This was a hard one for me. I think just messaging is an important piece. What about you? What have you done to help make sure that people don't are getting entitled around this?
It's interesting, and I actually love that you have mentioned a little bit of a solution around communication, because I think this is the major point. This is the foundation, and actually, it's very important that you have consistency. So it's not
Yeah.
like we're releasing a test scheduling based on agents' preferences or
Right.
wishes, and then you come back 8 months later and say, "Oh, remember it was a pilot. Now, f you, we're gonna take it away." That's gonna have the opposite effect. So I really love that you're approaching this with a consistent messaging. Now, I started reflecting based on everything that you have said around entitlement or managing. And I started thinking, okay, but workforce management for me, if you take the terminology, it's what and how are you working with your employees to meet
Mm-hmm.
customers'
Mm-hmm.
demand,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's about how do you manage humans to help other humans? And then I started thinking, okay, if it's employee management in the essence, who should be responsible for that if you have any issues?
Mm-hmm.
Is it on you to figure out the solution? Do you involve HR? Because this is human
Right.
relations in the company. So I started getting into that rabbit hole. Oh, you know what? Hold on. What can we do then? But then the issue that I always have with HR is somehow they're forgetting often the operation aspect of things, and they solely focus on agents. So
And
always the concern is they're gonna say, "Wow, you gave them that shift. Now you're forever bound to execute that shift." But they're forgetting that in the end, it's a business. If the business is gone, if we go bankrupt, there is not gonna be a need of that shift. It's really that simple.
yeah,
And that's why I think it's a great topic, because it's a complete rabbit hole, and one that cannot be approached easily, one that I think AI would win in certain aspects, because we get out the emotional aspect of
it's
availability.
interesting. So what if, let's play that out a little bit. Let's say AI is involved, we remove the emotions of it, and it suddenly becomes pure logic as to what an agent is allowed to do to meet customer demand, right? So we have flexibility. We have an option of an employee coming and going depending upon the logic to make sure that it works for the business, works for the customer. I think that's, it's almost like a dream state for a lot of people. If we
Yeah.
get to that place, do you
Mhm.
believe that the employee will feel taken care of or accommodated or supported in their schedule needs? I don't think so. And I'm not confident this is a good idea, so we may edit this out, but it feels like that manual processing. What do you need? How
Mhm.
can I support you? And how can we work to create a compromise that gets you closer to what you're looking for, creates an emotional connection that actually encourages the employee to feel connected to the organization, to possibly feel more of an emotional connection to work. And we pulling the WFM piece out of the manual approach and go full automation. Now it becomes very transactional, and the employee doesn't feel more supported. It just feels like they're playing in the system, and the system isn't supporting them. It now just becomes a transaction. I'm curious what you think of. I'm not confident I'm advocating for manual work instead of WFM, but I do wonder if there isn't some emotional value there by having us review it and trying to compromise with an individual, not just playing if then statements inside of a system.
I First of all, I'll give the right to you to decide. I don't want to edit this out, because I completely agree with you. And I think it's a brilliant point about creating that emotional attachment to the company. For
Mhm.
myself, I have worked in both cases where I do feel emotional connection with the company and I'm going 100 extra miles. And the one that technically I'm getting better, but I have better perks and I don't have the emotional attachment and I just do my job and I don't care. Then that's the extent to
Sure.
where I'm going. Like, and I don't even believe that you mean manual work in the sense of let go and push buttons all the
Right.
time. I think that manual work, you're more associating it with that kind of a bond human to human that you don't want
Yep.
to replace entirely the human aspect. When I was mentioning the AI, that about we will not need agents.
Are
So
you?
there won't be a need for them if you don't need agents. And if you have AI, whether it's chatbot, voice bot, whatever bot, the bot itself do not care about when is it gonna be
Yep.
triggered. So you're removing that emotional attachment to okay, but I cannot be available because I need to go on a concert or somewhere else and I have a family kind of thing to visit. Again, for me as a customer, and I'm always trying to think not only as a WFMer, but as a customer, I very often, if not always, would like to speak to a person just because I want acknowledgement from a human
You
being
know,
about what I'm saying, feeling. And I know from my profession, seeing all the technology, I know that I can get that acknowledgement from a
yeah.
bot. I don't want
Yeah.
it. I just don't want it.
Interesting.
Customer. There are simple things, transactions that I'll feel comfortable with. But to give you an example, that last month my brother passed away and it's associated with also dealing with a lot of transaction of administration papers and stuff. So you need to either call or go on site with different departments to deal with a lot of
Mhm.
paperwork. And I was faced with some bots that technically you can insert your kind of input to get you to the right place, to give you the right papers and stuff. But at that moment, I'm so
Mm.
out of it. I'm in shock. I'm crying. I'm having meltdowns. I want a human being. This is what I need in my brain. I know that probably the answer will be the same because this is the process. They deal with the same information, but it makes me feel better to know that I'm having that emotional connection and conversation with another human
Yeah.
being. So that's why I don't think AI will or should completely wipe out the agent pool. But having this said, and I know that we're distracting a little bit from the subject, dealing with humans will always be based on emotions. And I
Sure.
think that if we approach it from the set, well, you sign a contract, deal with it. Okay, I feel gone and I go somewhere else when I have more empathetic leadership, when they care about me, when they ask me. But to wrap this around and to go back to the case, I don't know if you have been in that situation, certainly happened a lot of times to me, and I fall into that trap, is when you grant a wish or desire to, in quote, the wrong person.
Mhm.
And by the wrong person, these people that would be more vocal, that would be always taking advantage of the system and basically make it impossible for
Yeah.
others to meet their demand and thus pushing you to actually stop the process or to stop the perks for everyone else just because a pool of people are abusing the
Yep.
system. So what do you think? Have you noticed that? Have you been through this scenario?
Yeah. No, absolutely. There are definitely those individuals. You create policies for the exceptions too often, where this is what we want to do, but we have to create a policy for all of this because that one person, and I value that person to some extent, but the loophole finders, about the people that are going to say, but did you think about this? And they're going to go and find a way to weasel through it. And you're going to be like, crap, you're right. I didn't think about that. And now you just got away with XYZ that I did not intend for you to be able to do on your own. There's a love-hate relationship there, right? There's a sense of like respect. You found the loophole, and it is annoying that I have to build for you, that one person, when everyone else isn't trying to push the boundaries and push the system. And I think that's just part of the responsibility of being a leader. That's just part of being responsible for policies and for how things work. You can't, especially when you start getting to larger and larger scales, you can't just assume everyone's a good person. Everyone's going to know the heart of the law and they're going to appeal to that. Some people are going to do like the letter of the law says this. You didn't say I could get in trouble if I did this. You only said I could get in trouble if I did that. I didn't do that. I did this. And so it's frustrating. You do have to consider it. You do have to build for it. But I think in the end, it just makes the program that much more robust. It makes it that much more strong and solid. So that way there is confidence in saying it's fair, it's equitable, it's appropriate, it's balanced, and it's working. And if it can't work because someone said, no, I didn't do that, I did this. And if that breaks your whole system, then you didn't build it. Like it shouldn't be able to crumble that quickly. But you keep hitting on these points of like people creating expectations, people, and another way to say it is people ruining a good thing. You're like, stop it. Stop it. I built something fun. I built something great, and you're trying to ruin it. And that's just the reality of humans. That's who we interact with. I think a lot of times when we talk about this, we talk about this as balancing the employee need and the business need, or the employee need and the customer need. And I think that language of balance doesn't get to the heart of the matter. It's a tension. Balance feels, if I had the appropriate weight in each hand, I can sit here and not move too much because I'm balanced. But it's not, it's a tension. It's a pulling apart. It feels like you're getting yanked this way for the agents to want these things. You're getting yanked this way because the customers need it. And it's uncomfortable and it doesn't feel good. And I think that, unfortunately, is what WFM needs to be able to do. We need to live in that tension. We need to feel the pull. And if we don't feel a counter pull, if we're just yanked towards the customer or yanked towards the employees, and we don't have that counter pull, we just feel comfortable, I think it goes so far as to say we're not doing our job.
I agree. 100%. And unfortunately, that's how I feel when we're too often it's business. Yeah, it's business, but we are dealing with people. We don't, and that's the issue for me with WFM, that we're thinking and talking too much about math and data, which is great, which is your foundation to deal with people. And the people is what you need to care
Mhm.
about moment. Actually, I was
Mhm.
curious when you get in the situation like this, when you get these people who are basically ruining something good for everyone and they get on your nerves to the point when somebody completely undeserving will go and ask something from you and you're going to have it until here and you're going to unleash everything you have inside of you to the wrong person. Do you kind of
You-
approach how we can maybe deal with that? How can we prevent it from happening?
Wait,
Any kind of strategy? What we do?
how do we, is it, how do I deal with the difficult people? Or is the question, how do I help avoid those expectations, those people just expecting to get whatever they want?
Both.
Okay. How do I deal with
Mm.
difficult people? I'm quick to apologize. I don't deal with people perfectly. And so I've joked, I've got 3 daughters and they're approaching college age or university age. And I've said for a long time, I'm like, the first lesson I taught them was forgiveness because I know I'm going to need it whenever they leave the house and realize how much I've screwed them up. Like, I know I'm an imperfect person. I know I don't do everything right. So it's even in a professional environment, like I'm quick to apologize because I am going to unleash on the wrong person. I am going to say the wrong thing. I am thinking about multiple people in my career that I've screwed up. But if I can prevent it, it's recentering. Just yesterday, I took a meeting outside. I just laid on the yard, had the sun on my face while listening into a call and just tried to like get into a better headspace. These walls are fine and all. This is a nice office well enough, but I just need to go away sometimes, go on a walk, even if it means I can't leave my meetings, I can't leave my chats and my emails, but just getting out helps. So that's preventative. How do you avoid the environment where people become entitled? To some extent, it's hiring and coaching and training, right? To some extent, it's finding the right talent. And when people are acting in a way that isn't how you want them to act, you don't shun them, you don't kick them out, but you do make it known that's not how we work around here. That's not our culture. That's not our environment. And so someone that says, I wasn't trying to be entitled, I just expect it. That is entitled.
Right.
Let's have a conversation about this. And it's hard. It's not easy. But for me, I try to be as transparent as possible. I try to be as honest as possible. And I think a lot of time people reciprocate that when you don't come as this perfect professional leader, but you come as someone who's trying, someone who is learning, and someone who's going to screw up, it encourages them to do the same, that they're then able to learn to try. And if they screw up, own it. I don't know. It's a rabbit hole, wide ranging answer, but that's where.
But I think it's a very good one and one that people should apply more, because what I have seen is that people are quick to get defensive to say, yeah, but these are customers, but the goals, the service level, blah blah, and someone contact center manager, and come with all those excuses. But it, for my approach, even dealing with a lot of difficult people, if you work closely with them and then you're honest and explain them the situation and say, listen, you're right about it. We do have that call. I can grant it for you. And then the next week I'll have to stop it forever for everyone. So if this is something that you as a team are willing to risk, then it's fine. I'll give it to you. But I think I have noticed that once my team and I are working closer to agents and checking on them and other, hey, how are you feeling today? Hey, what's up? Are you feeling okay? I've noticed that you're more quiet than usual. I see that you're smiling. Is it a good occasion? Just build that relationship so they don't see your team as the one that sits in the corner behind the wall and they're just micromanaging and trying to catch you doing something wrong. I have seen brilliant results. I have seen my team screwing
I
up,
mean,
and then the agents are defending them and thinking about solution, how to fix the situation for a mistake that they have done.
no, for
So that's gonna be my advice to everyone. Just understand that you're working with humans. That's the foundation. We're not working with numbers. We're working with people.
absolutely.
And
I would say
okay.
one thought I had is, and I know we're coming up on the end here, too often I think people that might be moving in this direction, wanting to accommodate more agents, to be more human-centered, and I think that's wonderful, don't start in their own WFM environment. If you're looking to connect with agents as people, start with your team. I'll leave with one tip before we wrap up. Something I'm doing with my team currently, not a WFM team, but it's actually just the leadership crew that I have. But every team meeting I have with them, we start with, and it still is completely from Brene Brown. She's an amazing author and speaker if you haven't heard her, but what's your number? And what's your 2 words? And so what's your number is on a scale of 1 to 10, how maxed out are you? 1's, I can't believe I get to work here and get paid for this. This is the best thing in my life. 10 is, I'm close to tears and screaming and I hate it and I am maxed out. And then the 2 words is to describe your emotional state. We don't dive into any of it. It's simply a context to have a conversation. Like yesterday, I was at an 8, really burnt out, really high on the list. I had another person on my team that was an 8. I don't dive into, hey, why are you an 8 today and what's going on in this call? That's a side conversation. And I just check in. Hey, how are you doing? Have you gotten a break? Are things just freeing up a little bit? How can we help? But it's just that small little thing. I think that's something that we can do in our own teams, right? In these WFM teams, to start humanizing each other. We don't need to get personal and get into everyone's business in front of everyone, but to simply say,
Yes.
as a team, we're averaging really high right now. And so when we're dealing with each other, let's have more grace. Let's have more patience because we're all here, or we're all really low and we're loving it. And this is going to be a great day. And let's all have fun together because we're all a 3. And I think that's just that context helps normalize the humanness at work. And once we can start doing that in our own environments, I think it makes that much easier for us to do it with our teams and our agents and our partners at HR and our partners in operations. And so one last tip I would probably have is we want to humanize things. If we want to treat people as people around schedules and everything else, let's start in our own environment and start humanizing our own teams.
I love it. I love it. And I'm tempted to wrap this conversation up, but I wanted to throw a curveball at you because I know we might end up editing this out, but I want you to give me your opinion. I know your opinion, but I want you to phrase it from your perspective. When we are speaking about humanness and humanizing a little bit more the workplace, tell me, why do you hate so much when somebody is saying that we're family
Oh my God.
at work?
We are not family at work because I do not fire my kids. I don't. This concept that somehow we are this, oh, family is family. And I get that sometimes we get estranged, but we don't get out of the fact that the sibling you haven't talked to in 20 years is still, in fact, your sibling. They are still connected to you. It also puts so much unnecessary pressure on someone that wants to leave. Think about that, right? I would be a horrible parent if I guilted my kids to go to college local because, dude, we're family. What am I going to do if you leave? You're so important to me. I have to have you in my home. And it restricts their growth. It restricts their options. It guilts them into staying with you. And do we really want to do that in an organization? We need to create a space that allows an employee to say, I would like to grow, and I don't think I can grow here. I'm going to go somewhere else. We need to create a space that says, you all are heading in this direction, and I don't want to go in that direction. I want to try something different, right? So my kids can then say, you guys like traveling, and I want to establish roots. I'm going to go establish roots here. And there isn't guilt. They don't feel bad by leaving the nest and going somewhere else. We're not, and it just creates such unhealthy bonds. And really all we're trying to say, it's lazy, because all we're really trying to say is We like working with each other. You're special to me. I enjoy the conversations we have and the relationships we have, and I care about you. But we're being lazy because instead of saying, I care about you, we just say, you're family to me. And that's not true. We're not family. We're coworkers, and I could fire you if you suck at your job. I can care about you and fire you. Family members don't fire each other. Way to hit the last, the topic that I am just, oh my God, I hate that language so much.
I had to because I love your explanation. And actually, that's a point of view that I don't think it's put too much out there, but you nailed it perfectly that it puts a stress and people are guilting you into sometimes making the wrong choices about
Yeah.
yourself, your actual family, your development, your career growth, and everything, just because they're holding you where they are feeling comfortable having you.
Yes.
So I'm very happy that you wrapped it up with this one. It was a great conversation. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. And everyone watch this space because quite soon we're going to restart our webinars. And Dan and I will have the pleasure of inviting you to be with us on the next topics.
Yep. Thanks so much. This is wonderful. I appreciate it.
Thank you as well. Thanks for joining us today. I'm your host, Irina Mateva, founder of Right WFM, where we believe that every business and its people are unique and deserve the right solution to their challenges. If you need support with workforce management, we're just a message away. Get in touch at irina@rightwfm.com or info@rightwfm.com. If you like the content and would like to support the show, please subscribe to WFM Unfiltered on your favorite podcast platform, leave a review, and follow me on LinkedIn. You can also show some love to our great sponsors. For more information about them, check out the episode notes. This is your place for real WFM, so to suggest guests or topics, get in touch at irina@rightwfm.com. See ya!